So here we are with my one soul sister and one soul brother from the Joshua retreat. We are doing a part 2 because they couldn't make it on Sunday. And I know Sunday was a magical day. We all got to share and have that energy together. And I think we all realized the connection that we all had, and coming together again was like that love for each other. I could see it in our eyes, and we all felt it. And it was so amazing to think just 4 days of being at at Joshua retreat at a house. You could have that magic, that connection, and the knowing that we all were supposed to be there, and the little things that came up along the way that led us to believe that we are all connected. And I said in the other night was, my takeaway was I always know that it's oneness, we're all one. I always had that belief, but I think being there and then leaving and having that perspective, going, wow, and then seeing everyone again, like, oh my gosh, I am connected. I know you too, like I've known friends forever, and it's just amazing to have that feeling. And just like the icing, like everything together was like when we came together and we could have the conversations. You don't have that kind of conversation on in your normal day. And when you can come together and have that experience and then share your perspectives after a Joshua Live or a Christy or a White Light experience, and have those deep conversations at breakfast and on the couch or wherever we were sitting, is just so, it takes our life to the next level. So Adam, do you want to start and explain your perspectives and on your, like how you were led to go to the retreat and how it's transformed your life? Like you were saying before we hit record, like what your life has been like since you've been home.
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to share. Excuse me. So my sister, Shara, who many of you know, turned me on to Joshua and White Light. And immediately it was as if I was meant to be connected to those teachings. Like, it was clear to me, right? There was no question. And I truly felt like my vibrational energy shift upward, my perspective shift, and even listening to the first 10 minutes of the first episode that I picked up, first podcast I picked up. So after participating in basic training, where I just really gained a lot of new insights, I received the invitation to join on this retreat. And if I'm being, very transparent in the way I share and everything, I didn't feel, outside of connection to the work, I didn't feel deep connection to anyone in particular in the group at the time from basic training. And so I had a lot of fear come up for me, actually, when I was given the opportunity to join, because I said, wow, typically when I join something in person, it's, I have some level of like deep connection, but I was so connected to the work that I just within a moment decided to follow my inspiration and agree to join. And I did, and I, paid the deposit or whatever it was. And that was that. And then I hadn't thought about it for some time until it was about, life gets busy. So about a week away. And I started having, a little bit come up for me a week away. I said, I wonder what this is going to be like. I really had no clue. So when I arrived, I was very open-minded, and yes, I did, I am very transparent with when I have fear come up. I did have fear coming up because I was in a situation where I'm meeting new people and I don't know what to expect. And I really decided to just embrace that and to kind of let the fear metabolize and just really, connect more deeply with my fear, which enabled me to connect more deeply with all the people, amazing people at the event. So for me, what struck me, which is very interesting for me, I've participated in many, types of spiritual retreats. And I could say almost without exception, there's this sense of, quietness and like solitude, even within the space, whether it be plant medicine ceremonies or other, right? Vegetarian diet, etc. And the beauty of, and I'll go deeper, but this overarching beauty of having such a spiritually focused retreat with deep, intimate sharing, and having an environment that felt almost like a celebration. It was just a celebration the
Mhm.
whole time. And I've never experienced anything like that. And I was recounting with one of my mentors just this morning, actually, over coffee. I said, there was just this zero judgment, no judgment environment. Just come as you are. Complete openness around ideas and concepts, of course, whether they were shared by the group or not. I mean, you could bring whatever you wanted to bring and have it met with open mind and acceptance, which is just fantastic. And it is this notion of just sometimes in spiritual work, people tend to take themselves very seriously, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
including me. I mean, I'm speaking from my experience, right? Like, oh, this is a very serious moment. Couldn't have been more opposite. It was really just injecting like fun into a spiritual experience. So I would say I have never experienced anything like it. The people I met, I do feel that bond with, and it was, of course, as we talked about, it was solidified through some of the readings that were done and through some of the experiences that showed up for us. That was solidified. I mean, Akajati and a shared spirit guide between all 20 plus of us. I mean, how
Right.
fantastic, how amazing, and of course, makes all the sense in the world. So it was just a fantastic journey. I could have been there, it feels like I could have been there for 3 weeks. How many days was it? It was 4. I mean, it felt like a really just like time just stopped, and we
Yeah.
were really able to connect in new ways to the larger experience of what it means to be spiritual beings living in this physical experience on this earth. And then I don't want to take up too much time. I'll just kind
Oh,
of
continue. You're fine.
oh, okay.
Please.
Um, I'll kind of migrate now to the tail end and leaving the space. So funny enough, I had a really early flight and I stayed up really late, or early, depending on how you look at it. And I missed my flight by
What?
3 minutes. I was
Oh my
Oh
down
God.
the
no.
hall watching them close the door to the jet,
Oh,
and I just was like, wait. It was like out of a movie, and I missed my flight, and the next flight was a connecting flight. I was there at 8 something in the morning. It was a connecting flight leaving at something like 7 at night. So I
oh
basically
my gosh.
had 12 hours, something like that. And so what I did was I was at immediate peace and acceptance. Immediate. I was like, perfect, right? And I ended up connecting with so many amazing people in the airport, like just
Huh.
amazing. I witnessed so many amazing acts of kindness. I was just so aware of what was happening around me in such a good way, and I was filtering energetically for amazing experiences to be witnessed. So I witnessed a young mother with a very young baby in a stroller, and I saw this boy. He must have been 8 years old. Leave his mom's side, and there was a floor cleaning, wet floor kind of thing that was kind of getting in her way. And before I could even do anything, this young boy went over and moved it, and it was just like this beautiful thing, right? And I went up to him after. I said, I just want to tell you, I saw that, and I see the care you bring
Hmm.
to this world, and it was just it was beautiful. I witnessed so many things like that, right? Listened to some fantastic music that was so uplifting as well, and I just had a fantastic time. I feel like I really was able to connect with people, and connection is my number one value in this life as defined, and I connected with so many amazing people, and it really kind of solidified this notion that we are truly all part of one consciousness.
Mhm.
And I really felt that in the wild, with complete strangers. And it was a beautiful thing. And of course I missed that flight. Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. Right. And then, in coming home, I really felt a shift, and it was hard to really describe. But when I was, when I came up to ask a question of Joshua during the retreat, my question had to do with a feeling of regressing in my vibrational, like the raise of my vibration, right? The rising of my perspective. I felt a regression, and it was a perceived feeling of regression, which we know is you don't regress. That is, Joshua made that pretty clear. We don't regress. What it becomes is what is a function of, as I understand it through the teachings of Joshua, it's a function of having partially realized this perspective increase and having parts of you that are still holding on to this lower perspective, which creates turmoil, tension, discomfort, right?
Mhm.
So that felt really alive for me before joining the retreat. Like it was screaming at me, screaming in my ear. Very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And coming out, there was this true like new level of quietness, right? The volume was turned down, and I just felt like I could expand into this higher vibration without being, weighted down by these old limiting beliefs that refused to let go. There was a softening. So I was able to kind of let go and rise up naturally. And since that time, I've been energetically attracting, I'm a transformational coach, and I've been energetically attracting just highly aligned clients who really want to step in and do the work that I do. And it's an interesting intersection because it's, I'm a former Fortune 500 executive meets, spiritually aligned concepts. It's a 3-month program. And so it's not easy to find that person, that kind of perfect client. And since coming back, I'm finding a lot of people who are very interested in this work. That's really exciting for me because that's my purpose work. And,
Right.
and so I truly feel this up leveling. And it's a function of many things, right? But I think there's a deepening of my understanding of my truth. And that is probably, I can point to all the events that happened, all the feelings I had throughout the time we all spent together. But I think the culmination of all of it is this more deep understanding of self, which then radiates vibrationally, which then draws in more aligned opportunities, people, experiences, etc. So
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
But we'll come back, but let's hear. I love it. And when I hear you talk, and it brings back memories of having our talks that we had during that weekend. And it's like I can't, and we all feel this, but it's just the connection. I know we were all magnetized, like that ekajate, was like leading us to that. And I know it was so simple, and it was no question that we were going, and it was, everybody had the same story. It was like, yeah, we just went. I got the ticket. I didn't even think about it. That wasn't even a question. But it's not like someone said, oh, I was struggling, I didn't know if I should go. There was none of that. It was, everyone had the same story.
Yeah.
So Paige, let's hear your story. Let's hear
All
your
right.
perspective. And I heard in our one on Sunday that Paige was hugging everyone. That was
Don't tell anybody. So I came across the Joshua Live podcast probably last August when Gary was interviewed on another podcast that I listened to, and I loved what he had to say, and immediately went and subscribed to his podcast and started listening, and it just, everything hit so true and just rang so true to me that I just had to have as much as of it as I could consume. And I just was so excited to start the boot camp in January. And then got an invitation to go to the retreat, and it started the day after I was returning from a trip to London. And I thought, like, no way can I like come, be in London and come home and turn around and fly out the very next day for something. And then but I wanted to go so bad. And so I thought, I'm going to see if I can change my flight back so I go through North Carolina for this retreat. And if it works, then it's meant to be. And I checked it all out, got on the phone with Delta, and of course, it all worked out perfectly. And I even got to get to the retreat a day early, and was lucky enough to spend an evening with Gary and Christy on my own, and get to know them a little bit. And it was a really transformational for me. When I first decided to do the boot camp, I saw the different accommodations of places where you could stay for it. And my first instinct was to get a hotel so that I had a place to go after the retreat every day to be by myself, because sometimes I feel like I need a lot of alone time or have to get away from people. And when I thought that, I heard just a little voice in my head said, no, you're going to stay in the Joshua house. You're going to put yourself in the most uncomfortable position that would be, for you, because you're going to grow, And so I was like, all right. And so I got a room in the Joshua house and put myself right there in what I thought was going to be discomfort for myself. But I never even felt that way one bit, because from the moment I got there, I felt so comfortable in the home, around everybody. At the retreat, I mean, I've never just felt so welcome and unjudged and accepted by people before, that it really changed me. And by the end of the retreat, I was hugging everybody. And my friends and family have teased me my whole life because I hate to hug people, but not anymore.
Oh, I love
So
it.
a real sense of connectedness, and the understanding of that we're all one, really was profound for me in this retreat, and a lesson that I really needed to experience.
Yeah.
That I don't have to wall myself off from other people, even to go on my spiritual journey, so to say, thinking that I have to do it on my own. Really just connecting with everyone was key to it.
Right.
Mm.
Adam, when Christy did her mediumship and she had your dad come through, that was a moment in my experience. I mean, that I experienced, and I wasn't you experiencing it. I can only imagine the magnitude that had on you. Can
Yeah.
you kind of go there a little bit?
Yes. Would you like me to talk about for context?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So I got Christy courageously offered her special talents in a large group setting, which my understanding is she'd only really typically done kind of one-on-one medium work for people. And so it seemed like it was very, very big, energetic endeavor for her. So
Right.
thank her for that first. She listens to this. And then she had a few, I think there were like two entities who were kind of front and center, those were beautiful experiences for the people who they touched in the room. And then there were two that Christy referenced as being kind of glitchy. And in her view, I guess a spirit or entity who's glitchy, it means either they've recently crossed over or they're young. That's kind of my understanding, is what she stated. But she started communicating with one of them. And the first message was, is there anyone, it's a male energy. Is there anyone here who doesn't like their middle name? And I was sitting right next to Gary, and I was like my middle name. I don't like my middle name. And I had a feeling that it was for me.
Huh.
Like when I walked into that room, before we sat down, I knew something was for me there. I knew it. And then she said, middle initial M. My middle name in Hebrew is Miron, which is like this powerful mountain in Israel. But in English, it's spelled Myron, which, no offense to anyone named Myron, but it's not my favorite middle name. So it was spot on, right? Spot on. And then she shared, so I'm trying to think of who could this be, right? And then she shared that this it was like first initial A. I'm like, oh, it's my grandfather Arnold is what I'm thinking, right? And then she drops Tel Aviv 1970. I'm like, oh, that's when my parents met, in Tel Aviv 1970. So clearly it's my grandfather Arnold speaking here. And then she said Susan. That's my mom's name. Who's Susan? I said, that's my mom. So I'm like, I'm thinking this is going in the direction of Arnold. And she said, it's not, I guess I said the name Arnold. She said, it's not Arnold. It's another A name. I was like, what? And she said, it's Alan. It's my dad. My dad has dementia. And it's advancing very quickly right now. My dad, when I was in high school, started channeling. And I thought he was, I was not open to that.
Funny.
Right. So my dad has a very special connection, despite his dementia. The connection's been, seemingly severed in some ways, because he doesn't channel, like, he doesn't think to do that, because that's not in his awareness right now. But sure enough, Gary whispered to me, he's like, that happens with people with dementia who are not crossed over. They spend time kind of in the non-physical. So I was shocked, and I didn't, for a moment, my parents were in Italy at the time.
Right.
And for the moment, I thought it meant that, for a brief second, that maybe an accident happened or something happened. Right.
We did. Most of us thought that. I did.
Yeah.
Did you, Paige?
Yeah, I did. I thought he had passed.
Me
So I was
too.
like, because Christy said, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I said, it's okay. First of all, it's okay in multiple ways, because in my view, I believe everything happens perfectly. So if that was the case, then I'm full acceptance of it. And he's clearly, in a fantastic, energetic, existence,
Right.
in the non-physical. So it took me a moment to kind of understand that this was him, thanks to Gary next to me, that this was him kind of partially crossed over. And then the beautiful thing that happened, he shared that he's gonna miss my mom, and he doesn't want to leave. So they're very in love
I love that.
for many years. And yeah, so that brought tears for me. And I have no problem. I enjoy that kind of expression, emotional expression. So I was happy to have an opportunity to cry over something so beautiful. And then he was, I guess there was the challenge in expression, because again, the glitchiness, Christy was having a challenge. And so who shows up? And Christy starts explaining kind of the way this person looks, and it's another A name. He's a little bit older, but he's like, olive complexion and bigger than you, Adam, and big. And she basically is describing like a movie star. That's my grandfather. He's
Right.
South African, he might as well have been a movie star. So it was this beautiful thing. So he shows up, my grandfather, Arnold. It's beautiful, in a beautiful way, to help his son, my dad, communicate in that way. And it was just amazing. And it made me feel so good, because it just gave me so much like peace. And we can talk about it all day long, and we can think about it and think about all these things, but like I felt it, and I saw it, and I heard it, that they are together. We are all together. And it's just such a beautiful, amazing things. So it just made me feel so good about continuing my relationship with my dad when he does pass, in a good way,
Right.
And I felt so good. And I'll just finish with one thing that landed very powerfully with me was, my grandfather, by all accounts, was a workaholic. He ran Goodman Brothers Jewelers. They had the distribution rights for Rolex and Omega in South Africa and various other places. And, my father explains it as he was a workaholic businessman. That's what he was. So the message from him to me was, Adam, take it easy. Be easy on yourself. Be easy on your kids. Be easy. And he said, say it over and over again until you are it. And coming from that man, coming from that energy and that man, that really was a profound message to me. And I now have it right
I was going to ask
in front of
you. I hope
myself.
you
Yeah.
put easy somewhere.
Part of my mantra. It's part of what I keep on my computer screen, to remind myself to take it easy and to just trust, let go, manifest with joy,
Right.
and play.
How's your relationship with your wife, and what we've been back for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Have you, and your children, is that
Mm.
shifted?
Yeah, we really make an effort to have moments of connection in a home with 2 young kids. It's a bit chaotic for anyone. It's an 8 and a 4-year-old. But we really, we're really taking like a pause. At least I'm really trying to just take a pause, really slow down, just slow down, right? And um kind of temper my intensity, if that makes sense. So I just work really hard. Like it's in my kind of programming, right? And so to take it easy, in theory, sounds easy, but for me is
Right.
not so easy. Especially as I manifest my purpose work in such a big way. It's like, but I owe the world my gift.
Right.
And
You
how could
do.
I take it easy? So I understand it and I'm feeling moments of it. And I think it's just going to continue to integrate more and more into my way of being. But there are moments of it reflected in my relationship with Rachel, my relationships with Hudson and Everly. Everly and I are going on a date night tonight. We're gonna
Oh,
have fun and go out to dinner, my little girl. And so yeah, I'm really trying to press, like, to slow down. Patience was the other message coming out of our time together. That's the Ekajati message. We each, of course, had this word. I'm sure you probably get into that, but mine is patience. So patience, ease. There's a clear theme
right. No
in all
kidding.
of it.
Oh gosh. We were talking about, so the last Joshua, Paige, I'm going to ask you this, because I love to hear this perspective. So the last Joshua, when Ed went up and pretty much got like derailed, he just got thrown to the wolves. So it's not recorded, and we don't get to hear that again. And I really would have loved to have heard that again. But that moment for that hour, I've listened to every Joshua. There's not one that says not listened to, right? And it's that sitting there in that room, that hour of time with Joshua and listening to him talk to Ed, talk to all of us. You couldn't get that on a podcast sitting in your ear pods walking the dog. That it was just this moment in time that, wow. But the fact that it didn't record what it wasn't supposed to. But I want to, Paige, will you tell me like what you take from that? Because, we all have our different things and we can't go back and re-listen. So I would love to hear what your takeaway was, and because we came back into the house and we were all kind of in shock. And I remember like looking at Greg, and he was sleeping out. He's like, that took a lot out of me. And he's like, I think I need to take a nap. And I said, I know, I think we're all kind of in shock. We were like in a daze from that experience. So you take it
Right.
away, Paige.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I know that when Ed was talking to Joshua, I felt all kinds of discomfort in me as I thought about what he must feel like to be on the spot up there, being what felt like grilled by Joshua, toward the point where he couldn't even answer his own age. And I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, but I guess it was me putting myself in his shoes. But I'm trying to think of the message that was the main point of that at this point. kind of forgotten a little.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Because I was kind of like, help me. I need to, I listened to Christie's The White Light episode a couple days ago, and it was cool to listen to because it brought me back into the room, and I was good to hear the questions again and her answering. And so that helped me. And I think when Ed asked, Ed wanted to ask the question for us all, and that was his intention. And
Right.
he mentioned that. And so I was sitting there, I know it's in my subconscious somewhere, but when he just, and Joshua said, Gary said, Joshua said, you're going to come from love now. That was
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
message that he's ever had them say, come from your heart today
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
know?
Yeah, I wish I could go back and hear that one again also, because I was a little like surprised at the way it was going, because it was kind of a different tone for Joshua. So I was
Right.
like, what's happening? So yeah, it would be
Right.
great to go if we could hear it, but I guess it wasn't meant to be.
Right. No. Adam, do you remember any takeaways
Yeah.
from that?
Well, what's kind of coming to me right now is this idea that the details just don't matter, because there was an energetic
Yes.
shift that was taking place at that time for everyone. It was not about the content, it was about the vibration that was being offered, that was for us, all of us. And
100%.
and that and which feels true for me, because I recall things very well.
Yes.
My brain,
yeah,
you don't.
You don't?
It's escaping me.
Huh.
Details, and I have every other detail of every other thing that happened, and
I feel the same way.
I do too. Well, that's why I wanted Paige to give me her. I need to get back into that place, because I help me. I need to get back into that message. But you're so right, Adam. That is so true, because we did have that. It was such a shift. Everybody. I mean, we came out of there. We couldn't even get off of our chairs. We were in what? And Gary too got up and he's like, whatever he said. But I love that. I really do. I think you're right on about that.
Maybe it was there to serve us, to connect us all to each other even deeper, because of maybe the empathy that we felt for Ed and everyone in the room as it was happening, kind of.
Right. I mean, even Gary mentioned he felt so sorry for poor Ed. He's like, man, they're being so hard on him. Yeah, I think you're right. It was an energetic shift. I guess we weren't supposed to, the message, whatever it was. I mean, I could ask the group, but you're probably right. I bet it would be all around.
And Ed was the perfect person to be there, to be on stage for that. Because he has like an ease about himself, and was other than not being able to answer the questions, was kind of unfazed in my view. So he held that role for all of us in such a good, strong way. That was his job in that moment, was to just be the focus of attention, so that this energetic shift could occur. That's how it occurs to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the details. I only remember the emotions, and the way I felt is all like the impression I have is just how I felt by the thing,
Yeah. I think, and same with me. And I remember thinking, first of all, I think seeing Joshua and Christy channel in person, it is a whole different experience. In person, it's like you can't have that experience anywhere but in person. And then to watch Joshua that day go to a different level. I mean, I feel like he's gone to a different level in the last 2 or 3 months. I've seen a shift in the information and the energy and the power and the points that he's trying to get across, stronger than it's been in the past years. But When I watched that, and I was watching how there was such a point to be made, and whatever it was, he made it in the energy. And because I was watching his energy, because you're sitting there watching this powerful being, just, including us too in the conversation, and, talking to us about it. Like, it was all about us. It was all about, Ed sparked the question, but he was referring to us, this group.
Yeah.
And when he talks about looking at the group and seeing everybody as who they truly are, and what he saw in the audience, and like, we are all this God, like, we are all so powerful. And I think we just all felt that. It was like this moment where, I mean, this fusion of power, like, we were all like, whoa, we're that powerful. Like, whoa. I mean, it really did shift the energy. And I'm so glad we talked about this, because I'm so glad we all feel that way. But Ed, that's so true. It was an energetic shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paige. Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah. I've just still been feeling full of energy and love ever since I came home. I mean, like Adam describing his airport experience, I felt that way my whole travel home, excuse me, talking to people on the plane, and just, being way more friendly than anyone's ever used to me being.
Oh, I love it.
And I was a vendor at a little festival a couple of the weekends that I got home, and I set up to sell my art. And I was just so happy to talk to everyone who came by my booth. And I don't always feel that way. I usually just kind of want to get it over with so I can go home. But this time I enjoyed, it's making me tear up.
Oh, it is.
I really
love it.
I really
Oh, good.
enjoyed every interaction and truly cared about every person that I interacted with, which is, something that I haven't really felt before.
Huh.
That's wonderful.
Explain, like, Paige, in your life, like, the hugging and I guess the intention of, like, seeing how you are in the world. I'm just getting something, like, you're realizing the hugging, I'm going to be more focused on outward love. What have you been closed for? Like,
I guess so. I didn't even realize to the extent that I was, and I thought that it kind of served me because I felt sort of solo in the world. I don't even know how that came to be. Maybe just from years of living on my own and not having children or anything. I was adopted. So I just have always felt a real kind of, like I was on a solo journey. And I guess this was really important for me to connect with others and to see that I'm not here to do it all by myself. That I can't do it all by myself, and
right.
and that I had to start having a lot more love for myself before I could even extend it to others, and now it's just grown.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And the being affectionate or hugging, when that was what people were saying in the call.
Yeah.
So, like, what was it like, finally you saw how much love, like, your love?
I think that I was able to accept it before. I didn't, maybe I didn't even feel worthy of accepting all the love that, when people tried to hug me or give me compliments or anything like that. I kind of shut down and didn't even know how to accept it before. And now I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, and I feel the same way back at you, where I didn't necessarily feel that before. So that's been a huge shift for me.
Oh, Gosh.
Even when I'm driving down the street now and there's somebody going slow in front of me and I start feeling a little impatient, like hurry up or I want to go around them, there's this voice that reminds me, like, do I not have enough love for my fellow human that I can wait for these people in front of me, And then I just realized, of course, I have all the time for, and where before I just would have thought, get out of my way. I've got places to go.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Oh, I love that.
So patience, just like Adam, patience with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really touched me.
Mm.
Both of you have. I look at, how life, we're led to teachers or books or, ways of like things that we need to learn that are in our soul that we are drawn to, right? And then when you bring people into the mix that are drawn to it, and you hear their stories and what they grew from, and then it makes me sit here and think, it's the power of being in a group of people that think this, like have like minds, that are interested in learning and growing, and are listeners and know that what you're learning, I can learn so much from you, that
Yeah.
it's just a reflection of, you're just looking in a mirror. That's how I felt. Like I was looking at each person that weekend as a mirror of me.
Yeah.
And the longer we spent time together, it became like the mirror became clearer and clearer. Like, whoa, these are me. This is
Mm.
all me. We're
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah.
Like this is, and I've learned. I've been with Joshua for like 4 years. That I've followed the podcast, and then I've interviewed Gary like 5 times on Uncover Your Mind.
I'll have to listen.
And it would be interesting. I don't know if I'd want you to go to the first one, and then it would be interesting to hear my growth and my questions and his growth too. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every episode I remember, it got deeper and deeper, basically because we were learning more and going deeper. So yeah, the first one would be interesting, but, my point was, what was my point? I lost track.
About people being
Oh,
a
just
mirror.
being together. Yeah. So, when you realize like everything, yes, I've been part of Joshua, and I was really learning the triggers and relationships and being in traffic and not being triggered and living life as, like it's been like that for me for a while. So, and remember the moment I was in traffic and going, oh, this is fine. I'm just going to be in a traffic with my girls. We can have more time together. I never looked at it as wrong, bad, because nothing's wrong or bad, and it's all perfect. And when I look at, like, let me tell you an example. It was so sweet. So my daughter is in 8th grade and she's graduating, and they have to put a speech in to see if they win this. So one person wins a speech, like that gets to take the speech role, right? So last night she was up and she wrote her speech, and it has to be front and back. And I said, will you read it to me in the car? And she's like, sure. So she said, I think you might cry when I read it, because part of it's about you. And so of course she's telling me like, my best friend is my mom. She's taught me that everything's for me and that everything's perfect. And she just kept going. I'm like, wow, because we're being and she's seeing that, it's like I'm seeing the reflection back. And
Yeah.
when you
Beautiful.
realize the power, that's just with my daughters. I mean, that's my main purpose and focus in my life. But when you come to a situation when we're all in one space, and you're looking at yourself in everyone's eyes. And I we were sitting on the Zoom just the other day, and I'm looking at these eyes, and they're all me, and we're all here together. And it's so powerful when you get that connection. And I think what it's done for me, like listening to your story about your dad, Adam, was we take life, it's like we put so much weight on life instead of just looking at it like we're in the moment, like, gosh, your dad's happy, he's with your, mom in Italy. And to know that it goes on, and we'll always be together.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a comfort when you can
Yes.
come from that place and know that we'll be always together, and we've been together. It's such a, we're so familiar. It's such a familiar place to be when you're with people like that, that you know that we are connected. But I
Yes.
remember Christy was on the podcast, and I haven't had a reading with her, but she did a reading like at the last 15 minutes, and she brought my dad in, and my dad had passed away when Paige was 2 days old. And she had kept, and his name's Gary. So she kept saying, I keep getting this tap on my shoulder every time we talk about Gary. She's like, do you know someone named Gary? And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, Christy, that's my dad. So, but my takeaway from that experience, and why I think having someone like Christy in our life that has that gift, and to have that experience with your dad. And didn't you have an experience with your sister, Paige?
I did. I had a couple of interesting experiences with my sister while I
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to
Yeah.
share that before we wrap up?
Yeah, so what the first thing that happened that was really interesting was my sister passed away suddenly in February. And while during one of our first Joshua Live like channelings at the retreat, I was really cold. So I thought I have to go to my room and grab a jacket. So I got up and walked out, got a jacket, and checked my phone while I was in my room. And there was a message from my sister's husband that they had gotten the autopsy reports back for my sister, and that she had died from a significant cardiac event. And I thought, all right, okay, I got to get back to class. I go straight back to class and sit down. And I wonder to myself, I wonder if my sister's here with me, because it seems like something she would have liked. And right then I heard a wind chime, and I looked out the window of the greenhouse, and there was a wind chime right next to me. And on it was a little plaque that said, hear the wind and know that I am near. And it just
Wow.
answered my question. I mean, it answered my question within seconds of me saying, I wonder if she's here. And then I was like, whoa, so that was really amazing. And then the very last night we were there, my sister came through while we were all on the porch, porch talking. And Christy told me, is your sister named Caroline? And I said, yes. And she said, she's here. And so we conversed with her, and everyone asked her questions just in general. And then I got to, ask her a lot of questions too. So it was just all so magical.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Oh, amazing. I was sitting right next to you on the couch, and that was so beautiful. And she was funny,
Yeah.
like her responses.
Yeah, she had a pretty good sense of humor. It sounded so much like her, the things that she was. Every time somebody would ask her a question about being dead, she would say, I'm not dead.
Oh,
And so we were just laughing at that in general. It was pretty, it really warmed my heart.
I bet. Does it help you? Like, I mean, I'm sure it helps you, but did you have like, it kind of like after listening to Adam and my dad, does it just give you this peace and knowing that she's with you? And
it did. It brought me a lot of peace. And I feel fine about everything now. I love her. I'll miss her, but I am not in this state of grief that I would have expected I would be had I not been taking this course, gone to the retreat. I feel like I would have been in such a different place right now with her passing away, where I'm really at peace with it, which surprises me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
that's so great.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you guys. This was so fun. Like we could do
Thank
this all the
you.
time. And
I
amazing.
know. I miss everyone so much.
I
Me
know.
too.
I know. It's so great. But thank you. And our paths will for sure cross again. I know
Absolutely.
that.
I
for
hope
sure.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ashley.
Oh, thank
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
Paige, great to see you as well.
Good to see you.